what you're going to want to do is just go to facebook.com. From here, you're going to want to go down and pick a page. You can go to your pages by going to the left-hand side, clicking a page. You just select a page right there, and then once you actually are in a page, or actually, probably what's easier is just to go from there to Meta Business Suite in the left-hand side. Click on that. That'll open up your Meta Business Suite, and if you don't know how to get here, this is a really great way to do a lot of the different kinds of things that you're looking to accomplish on your Facebook and Instagram page. So this is a great way to do this kind of stuff. But what we're going to talk about, of course, is ads. So you're going to want to go to All Tools. Don't click Ads right here. There's a really dumb, complicated thing that is, I really don't like this on Meta, but essentially there's two different ways to run advertisements. There's like ads, which is like a streamlined process. You can do it on like mobile and stuff. A lot of people do that because it's easy, but it's not the best way to do it. I don't recommend that. Instead, we want you to actually go to Ads Manager, and you can go to that tool by going through this process here. So again, we want to go to your Facebook page, go to the page, go to the Pages side, click on Meta Business Suite. That will take you to this page right here. And then from here, we want to go to All Tools. And then we should have Ads Manager here. Yes, so Ads Manager. So you can see it's kind of like a different site altogether. It's kind of dumb. But what we'll do here, and I'm just going to make sure that I have the right thing open up so I don't have any confidential information on here. But once this page eventually loads, you're going to see something like this. If it's your first time running ads, it's going to look just like this, right? You're going to have your actual ad here. Now, if you need to create an ads manager, it's going to walk you through how to do that. It's not very complicated. Just to go through that step, you obviously have to include a way to pay, a credit card of some sort, and then you should be off to the races. So if you're not getting tripped up there, which is great, then what we're going to want to do here is go first and foremost to create. You're going to click that create button here. Now, this ad strategy is designed specifically for getting leads. There are a lot of different ads you can do. There's ads where you can generate views for people or for your page. There's ads where you can generate followers actually for Facebook pages, which is super cool. You can get engagement. You can do all these sorts of things, and there's whole different strategies for that. But today we're talking about leads, and there's a couple ways to even do leads. You can send people to a website where you have some sort of lead capturing thing activated, right? Where you're trying to maybe give a lead magnet. So in that case, you might do a link click campaign. I've actually found lead form ads to be far more successful. Now, lead form ads, like all different forms of advertising on the Meta platform, there's a group of people who really love lead form ads, and there's a group of people that really hate lead form ads. And the reason why I think it's actually misunderstood by a lot of folks is that lead form ads are actually so good at getting leads that people who don't know how to properly add friction to their funnel, they get a bunch of leads, but they're not qualified, and they think, oh, all these leads suck, this whole process is terrible. And that's not the case, obviously. The problem is you don't actually have enough friction. And it's funny because in so many other funnels, we have so much friction, we're not able to get anything. And lead form ads, there's a way to get so little friction that we get too many results. And it sounds kind of counterintuitive, but I guarantee you that might be what's happening to you if you're getting a lot of unqualified leads. So we're going to talk about that. But if we're doing actual lead ads, so here's what we do. We hit the option right here for leads, hit continue, and then it's going to have recommended settings and manual lead campaign settings. I think we should do manual lead campaign. There's a lot of things that are streamlined here in the recommended settings. The problem is that we have less control, and I'm a big believer, if you're going to do this yourself, if you're not going to do this yourself, click the link down below and we'll talk about how we can do it for you. But if you want to do this yourself, then you should understand the whole process, okay? Don't half commit to learning it and half commit to not, because then you're just gonna spend a bunch of money, and it would be better either learning it completely yourself and running it yourself, or hiring professionals to do it for you. Don't do like the middle of the road thing. I've been down that road before I learned how to do this properly, and it's not a great place to be. So it's the worst of both worlds, really. So manual leads campaign, we're gonna go ahead and click that. So now you're going to see, if you're totally unfamiliar with how these ads work, you're going to have 3 different sections here: a leads campaign, leads ad set, and a leads ad. Really at a high level, all this is campaign is like the folder that you're putting all this information in, right? Ad set is basically how you're targeting and who you're getting in front of and how much money you're going to spend. And then ad, lastly, is the thing that you design that people are actually going to see or interact with. It's kind of the easiest way I can describe it. So first and foremost, you're going to want to title this. So always really helpful to have a title. I always recommend having a date in there too. So I'll just put in 2-18 lead test. And while we're at it, I just like to do this for all of these here. Well, actually for campaign and for ad set. And ad is going to be a little different. I'll explain why. So once we're here, first and foremost, special ad category. This trips up so many real estate agents. I can't tell you how many times this is an issue. People will try to run an ad without the special ad category for housing, and then their ad won't run, or it will run for a couple days, which is the worst case scenario. You'll see some results, and then it will get shut down, and so you actually spent money and ended up not getting anything out of it, which is terrible. So do yourself a favor, do the categorize your ads option, and you can click on it and kind of have it explained to you. I'm not sure why these are grayed out, which seems dumb, but for our purposes today, we're going to go and hit the housing option. And then, of course, choose your country. Most likely, you're going to be wanting to do this in the United States based off of the people who watch these videos. And then, of course, your auction is your buying type. You don't really need to know too much about this, but if you want to know basically the way that ads work on the Meta platforms and a lot of social media platforms is that you're basically auctioning spending money to get in front of the audience that you want. So let's say you are looking to get your ads in front of first-time home buyers in Dallas, right? And then somebody else is looking to get in front of first-time home buyers in Dallas, whether that's another agent or that's another company that just has the same targeting. Facebook's not going to show, Meta's not going to show a billion ads to everybody. They only show so many. So you have to auction. And that's one of the reasons why, cost per acquisition or cost per result or cost per lead can vary, because we're having an auction system here to get in front of the right folks. So that's basically what it is at a high level. I'm sure there are other videos that can explain it more in depth. But that is basically what almost all ads run under. And then lastly, of course, our campaign objective, we already selected this was leads. Now under more options, sometimes there's important stuff here, but for like for instance, if you want to have like an absolute limit, if you're like, yo, I have $1,000 in the business bank account and that's all I can spend on it, then of course you can add this in here. You can add a spending limit and say, oh yeah, I only want to spend $1,000, whoops, $1,000 tops. And then that will just be a hard limit, so you will not spend more than that. For our sake, we're not going to have to do that, so we're all good. Advantage Campaign Budget Plus. There's a lot of advantages to using Advantage Campaign Budget Plus. It's basically just Meta's AI that can kind of help out. Again, for this video, we're going to walk through everything you need to know, so we're not going to use that. Lastly, A/B test. You can have like different campaigns run against each other. There are other ways to A/B test as well. This is like done at the highest level, so you can like compare two different things with complete different audiences and all that stuff. We're not gonna worry about that today. So we're going to go ahead and go to next, and then confirm your budget. Did I have a budget in here? I don't know why it's already saying. Okay, weird. Anyway, I'm just gonna go to the ad set right here now. So now you'll see we have the conversion location. This is basically where you want, whatever your action is. In this case, it's to get leads. This is wherever the Meta ad is going to determine the conversion is to take place. So conversion just means basically, achieving the goal. So what we want, we have all these different options here, right? Tons of different stuff. Instant forms is great. The reason why instant forms is so great is you have to remember that Meta ads are a disruptive form of advertising. It's not like using SEO where you're trying to get in front of people who are looking for your service. We're actually trying to interrupt people's experience on Facebook, on Instagram, or whatever. And so instant forms is a really cool invention they came out with years ago that basically disrupts people, but in a less disruptive way. So essentially, if you click on the ad, it's going to pop up a little box, an instant form, and then they can fill out their information, hit submit or whatever, and then continue on their journey on Facebook or Instagram or whatever platform they're on. So that is what an instant form is, and it's really, really effective, at least from what I've seen personally. So we want to select that, and then we're going to, of course, select a page here. I'm just going to select a random page. It's an old banned page from from college, so we'll use that as an example. And you'll see, too, if you haven't done this yet, terms of service not accepted. You can't run lead ads until your page accepts that. You're going to have to do that, so if you haven't done it yet. So you have to hit View Terms and hit I agree to terms and services, and then you should be good, and it should let you. Yeah, there we go. Cool. Now performance goal. So this is, you only have two options here, but basically it's like, you can maximize the number of leads or maximize the number of conversion leads. And this is basically Meta trying to help people get better quality leads, essentially. So this is, this option is we'll try to show your ads to the people most likely to convert after sharing their contact information with you. So the idea here is that Meta is going to show it to people who they think are most likely to not only become leads, but also like buy your service or work with you as a real estate agent. And so the tricky thing about this is that if you don't have a perfect system, like a perfectly aligned CRM and things that are really great but can be very complicated, then you could be asking it to accomplish a goal that it doesn't really have the data to predict accurately, which is very messy. So I recommend, unless you have a full setup, and if you're doing that, you're probably not watching this video on how to run ads. So I would recommend at first here, just sticking with maximizing the number of leads. And like I said before, there are ways to add friction to this so we're not just getting a ton of leads that are all bad, but we can add friction so that only the people who are looking to buy or sell very soon are the people who are actually going to become leads. And then you can cost per result. I would skip this for now. This is basically you saying like, hey, I want you to try to get like $20 per lead or $30 per lead or $15 per lead. It's tricky if you don't know what you're doing, so I recommend not doing that. We want to keep delivery type the same. Dynamic creative, I wouldn't worry too much about this. You can do this. It's just basically going to try to mix up your stuff to find better, alternatives to get better results. I would stick away from it from now. Catalog, this is for like people trying to sell like from a store, so we'd skip that. Budget and schedule. So this is the meat and potatoes of how we're spending money here. So we have a lifetime budget or a daily budget. The way I want you to think about this is that a lifetime budget is exactly what it sounds like. You'd have to put a start and an end date, right? So let's say you want to run it for like 30 days, and you're going to put an end date in there. And then so this will say, hey, like I want to spend $500. That's my budget. So, don't go over that within that 30-day period, right? That would be what would be happening if we're doing a lifetime budget. Now, the problem with that is that if we want it, let's say that we ran a lifetime budget ad, right, for a month. And let's say you got amazing results. Basically, how the ad would work is that it's going to go out there and it's going to learn. This is the thing that makes Meta ads really powerful, and a lot of other platforms too, is that it learns. It's going to go in front of a bunch of people, be like, oh, person A, B, and C who saw the ad didn't respond. Person D, E, and F didn't respond. But person G, they actually responded. So maybe we should get in front of more people that look like G, because person G is actually the kind of person who's going to become a lead. And as time goes on, this ad gets smarter and smarter and smarter. So let's say you have an ad that works really, really well. You do gangbusters, you get a bunch of qualified leads, a bunch of great clients out of it, and then your ad ends. Then you're in a position where you're like, wow, I had an ad that worked great. I kind of wish that it kept going. It kept getting smarter and kept going on this trajectory. Now I have to go back and make a new ad and do the whole same thing again. Not only is that A, more work, but B, it's also tricky because ads work on a sort of momentum. So, and a quick story, I was running ads, and I remember this perfectly because I was running these ads initially before my son was born, so about like 10 months ago. And I was running these ads, and as they were going out there, I was getting leads, but they weren't really that qualified, right? And then I ended up running the same ads again a couple months after my son was born. And I just changed like a couple things in the CRM actually. So it had nothing to do with the ad on the platform, but the CRM was better now and it's actually properly hooked up. And I was able to get a bunch of leads that really resulted in some great clients that are actually clients with me even to this day. And so the cool thing about that was that I actually ran the exact same ads and the exact same dollar spend, the same creative, the same text, everything. And I got more results because of the CRM primarily, but the ads themselves performed a lot better the second time around because it just caught momentum differently. It's just so funny because it's probabilistic. It's based on probably. I don't even know if probabilistic probabilistic. I don't really know. But it's based off of probabilities. And so the same ad can do very differently in testing it one time or testing it another time, even if you haven't changed any variables, just based off the nature of how these ads grow. And so, long story short, if you do a lifetime budget and it works really well, you might not be able to recreate it, or might not have as good of a job of recreating it. And so sometimes the daily budget is nicer because, again, you can still always cancel the daily budget. Now, if you know yourself and you know you're going to forget about it and you don't want this to start spending a bunch of money and you forgetting, then yeah, maybe you have to do lifetime budget. But I highly recommend daily budget. Also, and this is a hard conversation to have because I've had this situation myself with my own small business. To a degree, you get what you put in with these ads. If you have a daily budget that's super, super low, you will struggle to get a positive ROI. Now, what is super low? What is super high? It really depends. If you're in a more competitive market, you're gonna need a more competitive budget. That's just kind of the way it is. I think if you go and start off, if you really want to see great results very quickly, then I would actually do $100 a day. I know that's a lot of money. Listen, I have a small business myself. I run currently $150 a day for my ads because it's not about how much money I spend, it's about the ROI. If I spend $100 total in a month and I get no clients from it, that was a terrible ROI. If I spend $3,000 a month, but I get 4 or 5 clients from it, that's a great ROI for me. So the issue is that you need to think about this in terms of return, not in terms of initial investment. Now, I know that's still tough, so I'm going to give an alternative here. If you do daily budget and you do $20 a day, you can get some results, but you're gonna have to, the bargain I gotta make with you is you're gonna have to check these frequently. You're gonna have good creative, a good offer, and you're gonna have to basically make up for the fact that you have a lower budget on the creative side, okay? So just keep that in mind. You can do it, but just keep that in mind. For context, when we run these ads for clients, we are normally running about $20 a day for their lead generation specifically. Now, we know what we're doing. We've tested this a bunch. We work with a bunch of real estate agents across the country, so we know what we're doing. But if you're first time doing this, you're already at an uphill battle, just to be totally honest with you. So, obviously you have to make your start day not in the past, and that's important. And then you can put an end date even if you're doing a daily budget. If you're doing a lifetime budget, you are required to have an end date, obviously. It needs to know when it needs to stop spending your money. And so custom audiences. Now here's kind of a crazy thing I'm going to put out there. And this is different per situation, of course. I think that ads are so good. Meta is so good at getting in front of people who are interested in working with us. I want you to have very little targeting. I know it sounds crazy because one of the craziest, coolest things about social media ads is how pinpoint we can target people. It actually can work against you because if you ostracize an entire swath of your audience accidentally, you are immediately diminishing the actual results that you could gather from that campaign. So we don't want to do that. We want to make sure that the friction is in a different part of the ad. We want to make sure that we have the opportunity to get in front of everybody, but that once we get in front of everybody, there's another layer of friction in there that makes sure only qualified people actually come, through our leads for us to work and spend time and effort on. So I recommend, for instance, you need to have your location. I mean, listen, if you're working in Dallas and you don't work outside of Dallas, then obviously you need to target only Dallas, right? I would give you a good mile radius here, maybe something in that case, because I'm covering most of the highly populated areas. Don't overthink this too much. I think a 30-mile radius is pretty good. Just putting that out there. In general, I think that's pretty good. You can think about it all day long, and people love to go in the nitty-gritty here. I'm telling you, man, there are people in this circle who will work with you as a real estate agent. You don't need to go bigger. You don't need to pinpoint and be like, oh, I only want to work with people in Garland. If there's another reason for your business that you only do that, then that's different. But you have to have a minimum 15-mile radius. And so I think 30 is a pretty good number. Just putting that out there as a recommendation. All of this stuff, take with a grain of salt because testing is what's going to give you the best result, not some random person on YouTube. Okay. Can't change the age gap here because of the special housing category. We can't change the gender. And again, we don't want to for either of those, so that's good. Detailed targeting, you can go into the nitty gritty here. I say don't. I say don't target people based off of like their interests or like whatever, or people who are like medical professionals or whatever. This isn't the place to do that, so to speak. I think the creative is a far better spot to do that, and that's in the ads section. So I would keep this open, right? Keep this part pretty open. That's what we've seen to be really great. Now, placements, this is where Advantage Plus placements is really great because you have to think about what is the actual goal here. The ads are seeing success as leads, right? And how we qualify leads, what we consider to be a lead is what we're going to talk about in the ad section. But if we are running ads and we need leads from social media, it's okay if they click on us from an Instagram story or an Instagram post or a Facebook post or Facebook video thing or like an in video ad roll. That's okay, right? That's fine as long as they're a qualified lead, which is what we're going to do in the next step here. So I think keeping it wide open and just letting Facebook do its thing and finding the spots that are getting you the best leads, I think that's the best part. It's also another thing you can kind of take off your shoulders and let Meta do, which is not a bad thing when we're talking about learning how to do this for the first time. These numbers here, estimated daily results, huge grain of salt, huge grain of salt. Take these with like the massive amount of grain of salt, especially when it comes to lead. My numbers have always been very different, good or bad, from what they have recommended. They're doing their best, but there's only so much you can really accurately predict. Okay, so then here, this is where it's a little interesting. So first and foremost, I'm going to build this ad, and then I'm going to show you how to A/B test different ads. And there's a reason why it's going to save you some time. So obviously, if you want to run ads on Instagram, you have to link, your Instagram account, your Facebook page. That's something for a different video. A lot of people, other YouTubers who can show you how to do that. I'll probably make a video at some point about how to do it, but I haven't yet. And so connect that. I recommend it because just another platform with a ton of audience. So that could be helpful for you. Now, you have options here. You could use a creative post or an existing post to run on your ads here. I don't recommend it as much. My company actually does a lot of times, but again, very different reason. We're doing this all day long. For you, I would make ads that are designed to be ads, right? Posts should be posts, ads should be ads, because you're kind of asking your audience to do different things, right? If you're making a post and you're trying to grow your brand and trying to stay top of mind, you're probably going to be making content that's more like, hey, like, I'm just trying to give you a bunch of value. And then this is more of an offer, which they're not mutually exclusive, but you can just lean into better things there. And so based off of whichever one you're doing. So I'd recommend making a video specifically for this. And yes, I said video. Videos perform best as of now for lead generation on Meta. So I highly recommend video. A lot of different reasons, but the stats are also a big reason why. So we're going to create that, right? And then we're going to basically upload it here. But before we do that, we have to create what's the instant form. So what's going to happen, actually, you know what? Let's set up the ad creative first. So if I say, like, I want to do a video ad, right? I'm going to have primary text. I'm going to have a headline, and then I'm going to have a description. You don't have to worry about the description too much. Don't worry about it. So primary text. This is going to be the big thing on top of your post. So basically, the way it's going to look, and it's going to give you like a little bit of an idea. It's going to give you like a mock-up before you post it, so you'll be able to see. But basically, like, you're going to have your video, right? Let's say it's like a reel, so it's like a vertical video. And then above that, you have a bunch of text, just like a normal post. And then below that, there's a little banner with a button. And that button is going to be your call to action button. And the headline is going to be like the little call to action, essentially, that encourages people to press the button. So the headline's super, super important. The primary text is also important, but headline's more important. So when you're crafting this, and this, we're not going to go into a whole huge thing about like how to get the perfect text or the perfect convincing copy here. Obviously, there's a lot you can do with ChatGPT and stuff and other AI to kind of help you out here. But for instance, I would do a great thing that we see works really well here are reviews. Primary text is a great spot to have reviews. If you have some reviews here, being like, John D. Agent, if I can spell correctly, yeah, agent, was an amazing agent for us from Tom L. Obviously, the better the review, it's the more of an effect you're gonna have. But this is basically where, I think primary text is a great spot to have just some proof of your ability and stuff like that. I think people look at reviews frequently. Obviously, we know how important reviews are in this industry. So having a little bit of proof there to encourage people to want to work with you, I think is a great use of primary text. There's other things you can do. Let's say you are selling land specifically, right? And like you're a real estate agent that really specializes in land. You could have something here being like, land is a really underestimated investment opportunity, and here's all the benefits and all this kind of stuff. There's a lot of stuff you can have in here. And maybe we'll have a video where I just talk just about kind of maximizing your results here. But I think reviews are a great place to start because we know they're helpful and already. We don't really need to test that as much. We know that they're helpful, and of course we can have different things in here. So a huge caveat when we're doing this different option here, and I guess I should go back to it, but when we have these different options, it says add another option right here. The reason why, maybe I should zoom this in. I apologize because this has been small for a little while, but it says add another option. So you can have up to 5 options, and you could do this for headline, your primary text, and your description, I believe, too. But the reason, we definitely want to do this, but the reason that there's a downside to this is really just about data. Because we could A/B test headlines alone, right? We could run like 8 different ads, or let's say even be more realistic. We could run 3 different ads, and they're the exact same, except for just the headline's different. And what's cool about that is after like a week or so, we could see which headline is getting us the best result because every other part of that process is the exact same. So we know the difference is because of the actual headline. So that is a really big benefit. And if you're planning on running ads for the future, it's good to know these things. But if you want to be the most cost effective in the short term, the benefit of having these different options that are automatically going to test it for you is huge because you don't have to spend all that time and spend a bunch of time and money testing before you get the benefit of having different options in here. So in this case, you could test, like, let's say, a bunch of different reviews. I'm just going to say review 2, and then you could have review 3, all that kind of stuff. Man, I cannot spell. It's very cold in this room, and my fingers are like freezing up, and that's basically why I can't spell. Might be like, Cole, why are you wearing a t-shirt? Well, it's because I hate myself. Then you could have other things. So you could do a bunch of reviews, and then you could also have like, land is a great investment opportunity. Now, again, the primary text is not really where you're as much like giving people the offer. You can allude to it, of course, but the headline is where you're really do or die, right? This is where it's like, we like to do something along the lines of if it's an agent who's looking to have a buyer or a seller and they're fine with either, we can do something like start your home ownership journey today. God, I really cannot spell. Falling apart over here. Today. And so this is, and obviously you can just kind of, I'm a big fan of exclamation marks. I do it all the time, text messages and everything. People are probably sick of it. Basically, get, or let's say like find my dream home today. All these different kinds of options. You can experiment with it. Obviously, if you're doing something more niche, then you can have more niche language. If it's a little bit more general, these kind of general like headlines we've seen a lot of it help with. But the reason they're helpful is because today has a level of urgency. Obviously, you're framing it, and this is important, from the perspective of the agent or from the client. So I like to do, actually, I didn't do it here, but like I like to make it in their first person perspective. It's like start my home ownership journey. They're reading that and they're saying, oh yeah, I want to start my home ownership journey, or I want to find my dream home. I find that is a little bit more helpful as well. But again, you'd have a bunch of options here. I would recommend doing all 5 and running them against each other because it's only going to increase the chances that one of them is, makes somebody click. Description, I actually keep this blank. I don't think this is as important, and I think it's more helpful for like sending people to a website, so I keep that blank there. And then call to action. I find that learn more is generally the best, has noted the best results. Excuse me, my throat's clogging up now. Okay, so after this stage, this is where you would now pick the media that would go in here. So I have a video from an agent, one of my agents here, which, you know what, actually he wouldn't care about because this is a really great video. But I'll put it in here. So this is him with Barbara Corcoran, because he's cool like that. So you'll see when you upload a video, it'll show you all the different spots and different like formats that it could appear in. Because we chose Advantage Plus, it's kind of giving us options for everything. So like you'll see it'll say like, this is not going to show up in certain placements because the framing is bad. So you can obviously go and edit the video differently. Of course, you can do that. Sometimes you can do the recommended. Obviously, in this case, it does not work because it's cutting off way too much and it's very blurry. So in that case, what you can do is just replace. You can replace it with like a version of this video that's going to be a little bit better, cropped properly. And here, look, 1:1. This might work. Still a little bit off here. Wow, that's loud. But and you can see here in search results, this one it works fine. So think about this when you're creating your ad, you're creating your creative. Generally, I recommend, because I know it's kind of what you're here for. I would recommend just using a vertical video. I think that's going to be best anyway. And then if it did work out well and for some reason you wanted to run it as a post, then you can run it as like a reel or a short on YouTube or things like that, or TikTok. So I recommend just making vertical video. We're kind of at that spot where like that's just going to apply to most places. Now, this is an interesting thing. You'll see this thing and it'll really try to push you towards these creative enhancements. These can get really messy really quickly. You can see like it'll have like different options. It'll give you like a different aspect ratio. It'll give you sometimes like it'll show if you have a different account that has a catalog, it'll show that, which can be messy if it's like, yard equipment that you're selling on the side there and it's showing it in your real estate videos. It's, it can get messy very quickly. So you can do this, but just make sure you understand what the variations are here, because sometimes it'll do variations that'll look very weird. This isn't, automated AI kind of thing, so it can easily screw everything up. So if you want to play it safe, you can just keep it off. It's not going to, I haven't found it's going to make the end, a huge difference for you. So now you'll see it's uploading the video, and it's only going to run this in the spots where the video is actually applicable. So if it's not going to be able to work as a reel, it's not going to show in the reel format and all that kind of stuff. It looks like it did work, even though, again, keep in mind there that we didn't say don't post it there, so it is going to have some spots that are going to look really ugly. That's okay, I guess, if it's like that. Yeah, that works fine. Not the perfect thing, but again, it's all right. So, cool. So then you can have all these different things. It's going to give you an error if you leave a text bubble blank. But this is basically the little preview that's going to show you. And you can go into an advanced preview and see like all the different places where it's going to go and all the differences it's going to make, all that good stuff. But you can customize that, and see exactly what it looks like. Generally, if it gives you the warning about ratio, you are going to want to fix that because it could look pretty ugly. But other than that, if you just film vertically, you're going to be pretty good in most places. So that's pretty good. Advantage Creative, I would, 3% lower cost per result. What's 3% lower? I wouldn't bother with it. I think it's going to spend more time, and I don't want you to spend a bunch of time if it's not going to give you really great results there, because I know the collective wisdom about social media in general is always like, well, let's spend 80 hours a week. I know most agents do not have that time, so I want to give us the most bang for our buck here. I think that's going to get us to where we're going to go. And then if, by the way, it works really great, then you can always come back to it and then learn the last 5% of the process. But you don't have to learn how to paint the Mona Lisa to start becoming a painter. That kind of worked. I kind of like that analogy. So this is the overall thing. So now we have basically our campaign, our ad set, and then our actual ad, the thing that people are going to be seeing. Now, what I recommend here is if you're going to do, let's say you are going to do a $100 daily budget, like I recommended. You're like, hey, Cole, you know what? I'm going to try this for a month. I know I'm going to spend about $3,000, but I really want to give this the proper try. Awesome. Whoa, actually, you know what? Sorry, that is not the right number. Let's not do that. There we go. Then, here's what I would recommend. So we have enough ad budget there to basically be able to test multiple ads. If we were only running $20 a day, you know, maybe you can test 2 ads. I would still probably test 2 ads. Maybe you can try 3, but just keep in mind that you're splitting that already slightly narrow budget in multiple spots. Actually, you know, I would still do 3, but any more than that, I would not recommend. If you're doing $100 a day, you can have like 5, 6, maybe different ads in there. Up to you. I think actually a great way to start off, because keep in mind the starting of the process is where if Facebook knows the least amount. I would choose 3. I would make 3 ads, make them different from each other. So you can either do 3, you know, you're saying the exact same thing, the exact same script, you're wearing different stuff or different locations. I'd probably not just do wearing different stuff. I would say like either different locations, different subjects, different formats. Even you can test out like a video, test out a picture, test out a like a an infographic, for instance. You know, you can have different variations there. But I think a good spot to start is $100 a day. 3 different ads to test against each other. You can do 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, as many as you want, but I think it's a good starting spot. And then as time goes on, a great process, a pro tip is to get rid of the least performing ad every week, and I'll talk about that in a second. But the way to do this, the easiest way to do this is to build your first ad, because we have all the text and all that stuff like that. And what we don't want to do is test too many variables at once. We want to test one variable at a time. That's the proper way to A/B test. So what we want to do here, now that we have this whole ad built, is we want to go here, we can just go quick duplicate, and it's going to make a copy. And we can even just do that again. Quick duplicate again, right? If you're doing a bunch, you can just hit duplicate, and then you can choose the amount. You can just go here and be like, oh, I want like 10 copies, and you'll have like a ton of them. But you can just do quick duplicate if you're just making a couple of them. And then so these are mirror images. Now, if we try to run these, it's not going to let us because these are all the exact same ad, and it's going to be like, yo, that's not what you're trying to do. So what I would do here is that title this first one be like, you know, this is testing, you know, video 1. Obviously be more specific with the video. Be like, you know, this video is about land investments. And then the next one, we would want to go here and then use a different media. And then we basically just hit remove the media, add the media, add a video if we're going to do that. Use the same primary text and headline and all that good stuff. And then we would just select, you know, a image from the page or a video or whatever that might be and upload it from our desktop is probably the easiest way to do it. So then we do that, and then we title it differently. And this one would be about, like, you know, first-time home buyers. And then our next thing would be, you know, I don't know, like mortgage rates, something like that, right? So we test these fundamentally different topics against each other and see what's performing best. Now, what's really cool is that after, like, we run this for a substantial amount of time, which is usually about a week. You know, I know it's a long amount of time to spend a lot of budget, but that's how we know that the test is proper. We don't want to make judgments about a test before enough time has been given to really see the fruits of our labor. And so, you know, we want to see how long it does, and then maybe every Monday you go and you take the least performing ad and you delete that from the mix. And then you take the, you know, top performing ad and you make some kind of variation of that. You make like the same video script, you know, and you wear something different, or you do it in a different location or whatever, make a slight variation to that script. And then you can add that in, test those 3 against each other. Then the next Monday comes around, you take the least performing one, delete that, and add a replacement. And that's how you automatically start to like kind of ladder up to higher quality, higher performing ads. And that's a great way to test your creative. So I highly recommend it. It's simple, it's easy, you know, cover girl. So going back here, now we have our campaign, we have our ad set, we have 3 different types of ads that we're gonna run against each other. Obviously you have to actually change the videos in here. Now, last thing, and I actually probably should have done this before, is the lead form. The reason I should have done it before is I could have just had the right, or the instant form. I could have had the right instant form in here, and then when I duplicated it, it would be there across the board, but it's not going to be hard to add it in. So here, you have to have in an instant form, and you have to agree to, obviously, the policies and all that kind of stuff. But here's how to build this out. So what people will do that's a mistake is that they will build this thing out, and they will say, oh, I just need their information. I just need their phone number, their email, and then their name, and then I'm good. And that's already kind of automatically going to gather that. So I'm just going to hit next, 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 publish or whatever. The problem with that is that there's no friction in that funnel. And this is where people try out lead form ads. They get a bunch of leads. None of them are qualified, and they say, wow, this thing sucks, and they give up after a week of trying it, right? Obviously, plenty of people have massive success. I run exclusively, the primary form of marketing I do for my company is lead form ads. So these do work very well, especially for high commissioned industries like real estate. But you have to know what you're doing. So if you go here, well, you're gonna want to make your form name, and obviously whatever is important for you. Having a date in there is always helpful as well. But then you can go through here and you can say, okay, well, now I want to also make sure that I have, let's say, the form type here. So rich creative, I wouldn't worry too much about that. Higher intent, basically, again, is another version of Facebook trying to figure out and pinpoint, getting the people who are leads who are most likely to convert for you. It's hard for Facebook to do this unless you have your full CRM built out and all that good stuff. So I recommend more volume. Again, don't worry, we're gonna have friction in another step. We can hit next here. Background image, not too important, but if you want to include whatever, an image like of your logo or whatever, that's fine, you can do that. Greeting optional. They used to recommend this, but I recommend having something along the lines of just like a, basically what we had before, like start your journey, right? Your home ownership journey or whatever it is. And then here just be like, answer a couple, quick questions, and we'll reach out shortly. I like this because it tells people what to expect. And this is another way to qualify, because listen, if somebody clicks on it and they don't, this happens all the time, people click on ads, they don't know what they're doing, and they say like, oh, I don't want a real estate agent to reach out to me. I'm not looking to buy or sell anytime soon. It's not even remotely like interesting to me. Then they might say like, oh, this isn't for me, and they might X out, which is great. That's perfect. That's what we want to happen, because then Meta says, oh, that person who clicked on that button, they're not a lead because they didn't actually qualify as a lead. Therefore, we're not going to target more people like them. We're going to target people who actually qualify as leads. That's good. We want that to happen. Okay, so we have that. Then we can hit next. And then so going here through our questions. So I highly recommend, I'm not going to type all these out, but basically this is where you want to have your qualification. The more budget you're spending, the more ad spend budget that you have per day, if you're spending it per day, the more specific you can be, the more questions you can have. But if you don't have as high of a budget, it's better to get some not as great leads than to get 0 super quality leads, of course, right? Because you can actually work with some semi-quality leads, or some leads that are qualified but are amazingly qualified, right? So let's say you're doing $100 a day. I might put in 3 questions here. I'm not going to type all these out, but basically I would do the multiple choice option, and I would have 3 different questions. And what I would do here is I would say question number 1 is basically, are you looking to buy or sell? And we should be specific here, a home. Your home. And then you could hear, say buy, sell, and then have another option there that just says both, right? That's great. This all sounds great. I would not have the optional, by the way. We want everyone to have to answer all these questions. And the people who don't answer it are not as qualified, and that's the friction that we want. Question number 2. Like let's say, what's your timeline? I think this is great. You could say immediately. This is how we do it. We see great results here. Just ignore my bad spelling. I want to speed through this because I'm already taking a long time on this video. Immediately, in the next couple of months, and then 6, plus months from now. Now, what's cool about this is that if we have this option here, we can do what's called conditional logic. And what this means is that we can say like, hey, if they say immediately, like I'm looking to, get started immediately, then we can go to question number 3. That's awesome. They're so quality. If they say in the next couple months, we can say, hey, you know what? They're still qualified. We'll go to question number 3. If they say they're looking in 6 months from now, 6+ months, we know that they're really not that quality. There's a good chance that they're not going to buy or sell anytime soon. In which case, what we can do is instead of going to the next question, we can say close the form for non-leads. And that means that it will not qualify as a lead, and the ad will know to not target more people like that because that is not a quality lead. So that's the power of the friction here that people often skip. It's really helpful. Okay, and then once we have all of that, and then your next question can be something like, I like budget, right? So then do the exact same thing as we did here with the timeline. Have like, you know, a really strong budget, a really like a medium budget, and then like a really weak budget. And then if that budget's like way outside, like if you don't want to work with somebody who's looking to buy or sell a home for $100,000 because that means not worth your time, you know, sounds insensitive, but that might be the case. Then you can disqualify the lead that way too. And then when you disqualify someone, there's a spot where you can still send them to your website if you want to, and that's you know, I think that's totally fine. So lastly, we'd do that. We do the exact same thing. We'd have conditional logic for here, and then lastly, the way it would look, I'm not going to build out the whole thing, but basically the logic would be like, submit the form if they are quality, end page for leads. You know, submit the form if they are quality, end page for leads, and then lastly, you know, 6 months from now, then obviously close the form. So that's what we would do on the last question. That's what it would look like. So you can have as many questions as you want in here, I think, at least 3. And then I probably wouldn't do more than 3, at least when you're starting out, though. And then that would be the last one. And then so in this case, you know, budget would basically be on top of it. But that's how you can qualify it. So if you're in the middle and you're qualifying them, you send them to the next question. And then if you are ending it, if it's the last question, then you can end the page for leads or end the page for non-leads, depending on which option they choose. And then lastly, contact information. You can ask for their contact information. This just basically says, you know, however you want to ask it. I think you can keep that totally fine. You can also just be like, let us know how to contact you. I think that's a great form here. And then lastly, you need to have a privacy policy. Obviously, if I don't answer it, it's going to give me a little red flag there. But this is where you are going to have, oh geez, trying to make it so that I can actually have this thing submitted. Cool. Oh man, what's still happening here? Contact information. Oh, and I should add this. We do obviously want their phone number. That's really important. So we want that. Good. Is that why it doesn't want me to do it? If I go here, we'll do it now. Very interesting. Optional. These are both answered. Oh, it's because the logic isn't really working here. So things not working properly. And page there. This is, aha, okay, logic, got it. So I need to, when I have the logic on, I need to have all of these things routing somewhere. So this is then, want to make sure these all go to the next question. That's what the issue is. Okay, cool. So now we should be good. Awesome. Privacy policy, you need a privacy policy on your website. You know, if you have your brokerage built this out for you, you probably have one already. You might not even know it, but then you need to add a link to that. And then just whatever they automatically determine here should be totally fine. So then, awesome, that looks good. We would need the link. So we just have www.privacy.com. That's obviously not a real thing. And then we'd have the end page for non-leads. Basically, this is just what it looks like when somebody is not a lead, the message they get. This is where you can have your website in here, so you can put that in there. You know, whatever that ends up looking like. Just do this. Boop. Don't do that, obviously, but I'm just doing it for time. And then end page there. And then this is something where it's like, I would actually even have people go to the additional website and then go not to their Facebook page, but to your website, so that you can have a little bit more social proof, or even your reviews and things like that. Just so that these people who are determined quality leads, you know, can kind of continue to nurture their interest before you reach out to them. And you hit create a form, and then if I didn't mess anything up, it should work. And then cool. The only thing that's a little tricky is you can't really edit the form once it's created. You'd have to duplicate it and make a new form. So just keep that in mind. It's a little obnoxious. So then we just want to go through the other ones, make sure we all have the same form in here. And then awesome. Now the last, and then once we have all that good, we should be able to hit publish and we should be off to the races. Now the last thing I'll say about this though too, keep in mind, when you get leads, they're gonna go into your Meta Business Suite. And the way to track it, actually I should do that. You have to go back to your ads manager, and then you have to go back to your campaigns, and then as you get leads, it will be here under results, right? And it'll be a little download button. You might have to go to the ads section, and it'll show you how many leads for each. This is where you can track, by the way. If you go back to the main page for ads manager, which is, by the way, adsmanager.facebook.com, if you type that into a browser on a device that you're already logged into on Facebook, ideally a laptop, then it'll take you to, it'll already have you logged in. And so To track it, you just go to campaign, select the campaign, and then you can just go to ad set, and then you can go to ads, and you can see the results from all the different ones. So that's, it'll show you exactly how many people are seeing it, how many leads have come from it, how much money each one of them has spent. It's great. That's where you want to track to see which result is working best for you. Under results, because the result is focused on leads, it'll show you leads. There'll be a little download button. If you hit the download button, you'll download a CSV of those leads. Now, a huge caveat here is that the quality of any lead anywhere diminishes immediately once you take too long to respond to them. So I've run ads like this for agents and for myself and seen very little results because I didn't have a good follow-up system. I wasn't tracking them quickly. I wasn't calling them quickly enough. So this is where a CRM is super helpful. I'm going to have another video that walks you through how to use a CRM to do this. I'm going to use my own Jarvis Social Manager, which is built out of Go High Level. I'm a huge fan of it. If you want to try it out for free, you can click the link down below. But I'll show you how to do that in a future video. It's super important you don't judge the quality of the leads if you're taking a week to get back to them, or even a couple days. You want to send them a message within 60 seconds. I know it sounds crazy. You can automate this, and I'll show you how to do that in a future video. But that's super important. The miles of difference I saw between not having a follow-up and having a follow-up, it's insane. I would never run a lead form ad anymore without having an automated follow-up sequence or somebody who could do it immediately that I trusted. So huge grain of salt there. Keep that in mind. Once you get the lead, that's only half the battle. You still have to work them, and that's obviously an important step as well that we'll talk about in a future video. So I hope this was helpful. Let me know if it was. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.